Hey everybody, welcome to this month's edition of The Wellness Policy. My name is Wei Ting, and I am joined, as always, every single month here for the rest of time with Jordan Goodman and Neal Flanagan. How are you both doing?
Yes. Hello. I feel like shit. Way I got COVID again.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yes, I knew about this, but I almost forgot in the time that since you've had it, because you've had it for how long now?
Like 11 days now. I'm like, it's way better than last time. This is no bummer summer, we could say. But I did this the Paxlovid. I don't know if it's Paxlovid or Paxlovid. I'm not exactly sure like where to emphasize the.
I don't think it matters. Who's keeping track, right?
Oh, clearly I am. I got like a post nasal drip. I'm nauseous. My head hurts. But I don't want to complain because Jesus Christ, look, you have arms. What is this?
I'm wearing a tank top. I mean, it's the summer, dude. I was just out in the back, in the inflatable pool with my son.
Yeah.
Wow.
And decided to step in here and do a podcast. But Neal, you are dressed very much the opposite. You look like you're ready for ice fishing.
You look like a lobsterman, I guess.
Yeah. Really? This
Yeah.
is just a hoodie. I think maybe it's coming over as some sort of I should be on board a trawler in the North Sea or something like that. And the beard is coming along again. I don't know if you can see that.
It's very
those
exotic.
of you who are watching rather than listening.
Oh, do you have a goal in mind for the beard length?
Yeah, I don't know. We've been through this before.
Oh, we have.
The beard, I grow the beard in for a couple of weeks. I get dissatisfied with the fact that it's incredibly gray and a wee bit aging, and then I just sort of trim it back to a few millimeters with a trimmer. I like to have some sort of scruff on my face. I don't like being fully clean shaven, but yeah, I'm particularly scruffy right now.
A full white beard, I think, is awesome, but I guess if you are concerned about like looking a bit older, I guess it does give that impression. But I mean, I think it looks awesome.
You're right in that, like, if it was all silvery and kind of white, I think I'd be okay, but it's that salt and pepper kind of thing where
That's
it's
cool too.
a bit of both. I don't know.
You can make it work, I'm sure. So what are we here to talk about, guys?
I'm still fixated on these arms, Way.
Really?
Yeah. Can you put them up?
You like
in
my
the air?
farmer's
Can you-
tan? Look,
Can you do that?
Can you see like the difference here between like
Oh yeah.
winter and
You
summer?
can see the tan line, yeah.
Oh, it's very, very, very noticeable.
Neal, can you tan?
And those biceps, yeah. I mean, this is a
Well, listen, we
revelation.
had our health and fitness episode, and look at me, turn my life around right away. By the way, let's give an update, everybody, because at the end of the show last week, your brother, Justin, gave us a challenge. Okay, he issued a challenge for all of us and all of our listeners, where we're supposed to, at the very least, do a 10-minute walk once per day. And how did we all do?
I think I did pretty good. So for me, it wasn't the 10-minute walk per day. I walk pretty regularly. I'll do sessions with clients where we walk the entire time. So for me, it was just like, am I doing more than I otherwise would have? And the more is a direct result of the challenge and it being more top of mind for me. And so I did it more days than not, even, and I don't know if it was an actual month. It may have been longer since last time.
Yeah.
But getting sick for the past, couple weeks now, it kind of took a dive. But most days than not, yeah, I definitely did more physical exercise than I think I otherwise would have. So for me, that was a win.
Yeah, who could have foreseen you getting COVID? I feel like the parameters of this challenge might have been adjusted a little bit more. But you were very active in updating everybody in the Wellness Policy Discord, so thank you for that. It kept me motivated. I have to beat Jordan. Have to be. I don't care if he has COVID or not. I have to beat Jordan. Me personally, like, I definitely, was really eager to do the 10-minute walks a day. And then at some point, like, life just got in the way, and it's like, I delayed it, one day, and then it became 2 days. And then eventually I just like would just go about my regular day, and if I ended up being on my feet for 10 minutes, I would just somehow count that. So it would, but I will say, towards the end, I started to maybe transition it, just from being a 10-minute walk to doing something a bit more intentional, like whether it be yoga, 20-minute yoga or something like that. Okay. So yeah, like, to that end, I thought, again, it was a benefit, just simply being a bit more mindful about, like, being active, at least has resulted in like a net positive for me as a result of all of this. And I hope to keep it going. How about you, Neal?
Yeah, likewise. I think it's like, certainly I hit them more often than not, which is a very low bar, but I think it was either 27 or 28. I lost count very early on because I wasn't properly keeping track, but I know I missed maybe 3 or 4 days. And if I'd been, like Jordan said, if I was going for a walk anyway in the general course of what I was doing that day, I tried to do something instead. So for me, a lot of it was actually just indoors. Same as you, Wade, 15 or 20 minutes of doing some yoga or something like that I might not have ordinarily done. So yeah, I mean, Justin set us a very achievable target, and I think, it would be difficult to argue with. It was very much for him. It doesn't have to be a walk. It just has to be a few minutes of something, that you wouldn't ordinarily do. And even then, yes, there were some days I didn't manage it. Just particularly busy days at work where I immediately decided, right, I'm having my dinner and then I'm flopping in front of the TV, and I just forgot about it or intentionally just went, nah, not today.
Mm-hmm. I would say I did appreciate the community aspect of it, just having like a central place for a handful of us to track our progress and to feel supported and to hold each other accountable. To me, that was because it's not something like that where it may feel, in the moment, you're asking yourself, do I really want to do this in the moment? And sometimes the answer is no, but you do it anyway. It feels less lonely to know that, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I can like share that with a group of people.
Well, it's not too dissimilar to, I'm sure, you and Eric continuing to update everybody on your Wordle scores.
We're the last one standing, I think, from the beginning. Neal, you've come in and out. I think at one point I've shamed you into it. We even had to Phil like chimed in. I think he got it in one in the past day or two. And so then I start thinking, has he been doing it all along, just not like letting us know? But
I have. I do it as part of my little routine. At midnight, I'll do Wordle. Mm-hmm. And for you guys, that's it's not available for another 4 hours or so. So that's when I do share it, it'll appear sometimes before midnight Eastern. But Jordan, you just sort of reminded me the point of it is kind of to post it. So yeah. It took me 6 goes. I think I was, only on the 6th. It was one of those ones where all the letters were green except for one, and I just kept picking the wrong thing.
It is nearly autumn 2023, and we're talking about Wordle on YouTube right now. I think for me, I do find like a perverted pleasure in just like not stopping something when it's down to just Eric Marcotte. And and it's also become like the only opportunity that I've taken in my life with consistency to pray to the altar of Odie the dog from Garfield.
Yes.
What? Excuse me?
What is the correct, I think, reaction.
What does that mean?
Odie. You know Odie, yes?
What does that have to do with your Wordle posting?
Oh, just every time I post my Wordle results, I also include the name Odie, just in honor.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes with a long string of E's or some variation.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that, what's interesting to pull out of this nonsensical, tangent is the idea of routine and doing something that, now is probably so habitual that it'll feel weird that when you don't have it, right? You clearly enjoy doing the Wordle. You clearly find pleasure in trying to solve the puzzles, right?
But if I was doing it in isolation or did not have an Eric Marcotte to share it with, also knowing he was doing it with consistency, I would be infinitely less interested in the Wordle puzzle.
Yes, of course. Did you find the same sort of like pleasure out of this 30-day physical challenge of intense physical challenge of a 10-minute walk a day?
Um, uh, that's hard to answer. Like, if we stop doing it, I'll miss it. I can say that. And
Okay,
it's created
keep it going. Keep it going, for the rest for like
for
the rest of your
forever.
life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I probably will because I benefited from it. And yes, I felt better about myself for doing it. So why would I stop?
So let me ask, what if it wasn't Eric Marcotte on the other end of this Wordle?
If it was just down to Neal and I think I know I'd be less inclined to keep going.
Right. So and even if it wasn't Neal, like what if it was a complete stranger? And by the way, shout out to Snapcat, who was very active. I would say I would grant him the victory if we're trying to compete.
I was going to raise the name of Snapcat because I think he kind of, the fact that he was overtaking me I was like, no, I'm not having that. So.
But yeah, like so you need somebody, Jordan, like an Eric, in order to keep you interested.
For the Wordle, yes, Eric is amusing for me. He's an enigma, and I.
Can you describe what you find so amusing about Eric Marcotte?
He's like a blank slate, and you can project anything onto him. I don't know what I'm saying actually, but I've shared this on the show before. I have called him every now and then, and I just start saying nonsense, and he kind of riffs along, and then I hop off, and he gets it, I suppose. So I feel a kinship with him. There's some sort of he understands me, I understand him, I think. I don't know. And I don't even know. There he is. Look at him. That's with
that's with IWGP champion Sonata.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
That was a good day for Sonata. Eric's just a funny ass dude. And
yes.
I like the idea that I don't know him that well, and we don't even talk that often anymore, but I get to experience him every day in this Wordle Discord kind of.
If you got to know him well, would it disrupt your amusement with him?
Maybe he's a creep. I don't know.
He's not.
Okay, it's interesting. So you find you're curious about people that are, I guess, a bit of a mysterious is how one way I would describe Eric Marcotte.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it's just that. It's just whatever he is, like, I like it for now.
Who is Eric Marcotte?
That's a great question. It's a great question because he's like, I know he's a fellow countryman of yours, but he's far north of Toronto, and like,
there's a whole nother world out there.
And that's what I mean. Like, it feels like I guess maybe I just create this fan fiction in my own mind about Eric Marcotte, about like, it's just like him, and I think he might live with his dad, and then I know he has a job, so there must be people where he works, but I just feel like there's not much else. And yet he I don't know, I admire that he's so young also, and that he has this sense of like not being ambitious, but yet he's really contributed a lot to post wrestling, and I would argue is a respected voice of authority within MMA and beyond, to a meaningful number of people around the world. Even though he's just like a young dude that doesn't seem that ambitious about much. Like he's confusing, and I find that endlessly fascinating.
It's very interesting. That's a good breakdown, I would say. Do you think he lacks ambition? Would you like him to be more ambitious, or are you happy with the way he is?
Oh, I don't care. I mean, if he wants to be more ambitious, then I'd be happy to root for him.
Yeah. Maybe he's just, taking his time.
Maybe if he's content and happy, like, God bless him, or Odie bless him, we could say.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we like him a lot, obviously.
Very much. He's wise beyond his years, I feel, Eric. I don't think he particularly likes it when we talk about how young he is, but Yeah, I find that.
That'll
And he's
end,
also,
Eric. Okay, don't you worry.
yeah, he's also very funny in a slightly offbeat and dry way that I enjoy very much. I mean,
So wait, sorry, Neil. This is more important, I think. So wait, you have your name on the bottom left of your screen, but then you also have your Instagram handle on. Whoa, whoa. So that these are two separate components?
Yeah, you can do that yourself. Actually, just go to
Huh.
settings and add it if you care.
Wow.
I was
don't
actually
care.
about to take it off just because I felt like I was a bit overbearing having 2 name tags instead of 1. But
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. Neal, Neal, you're going to All In this weekend.
I am, yeah. Saturday morning, boarding a plane for London. So it's a fairly short trip. I'm going on Saturday because the number of flights on a Sunday, it's probably the same over where you are always, it's a lighter timetable. So give me some time in on Saturday to sort of mess about or whatever. Then Sunday is All In It with the Grapple guys and BDE. Hopefully you'll be back in one piece from Berlin by then. And then the big show at 5 p.m. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to the trip, looking forward to meeting a lot of people who, I met some of the more far-flung among the community in Toronto. I haven't not yet met like Benno and Martin and the Grapple guys and Chris Elliott, who my main partners in crime will be Chris Elliott, Adam Joyce, and Aram, who's coming from Sweden. We're going to be sort of staying together. I've got all the tickets. We're sitting together at the show, all of that.
Who would have thought just a couple years ago, Neal, you would be like within a matter of months traveling to multiple countries and like spending real quality time with all kinds of people that prior to you had never met in person?
I wouldn't have. Absolutely right. And already thinking about WrestleMania next year as well. So mop up the final people I haven't met yet. So
wait, he's speaking about me.
Yeah, I know. I guess you came out to New Jersey, of course, but you've also been dealing with other things, and you also don't have a passport, so I guess that's part of the reason why. And then what? What happens after you've met everybody? Are you gonna just stop?
Yeah, that's it. Just gonna cut myself off from everybody.
Right.
Ghost everyone.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I'll just keep building those relationships. It's been one of the best things about being in the post community. Going from a very passive listener who didn't get involved at all to kind of leaving some feedback, calling regularly, and then just getting embroiled in the whole thing. With exploring some writing with John, and now I'm doing that regularly. This, of course, which has always been one of my favorite shows, and now I'm part of it. It's for over a year. It's all been tremendous.
Yep. When you called in for the first time to want to weigh in John's shows, like what compelled you to do that? And do you remember it?
I don't remember the detail of it. I remember
probably a cafe hangout, right?
Yeah, it would have been the cafe hangout, which was around this time on a Thursday, wasn't it? 3 p.m. on a Thursday back in the day. And it's kind of weird that you had to travel to John's, so you'd be sitting sort of opposite each other across the desk at that time. But
yeah,
I don't know. I can't remember what it was that I talked about. I can't remember exactly when it was.
I'm sure it was about wrestling.
It will have been, yeah. But I imagine my initial call was a big appreciation society kind of speech, which I was prone to, but was very well
we appreciate
intentioned.
That. Yeah.
I do remember feeling incredibly nervous the first time I was going to be speaking to the two of you.
I can understand.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to you and to Jordan and to others about this before. It's like if I were to meet some celebrity that I don't care about or that I hadn't really heard of, but I am told is really famous, I don't care, But people I've sort of put on pedestal, rightly or wrongly, to some degree, when I'm speaking to them for the first time, that's a kind of nerve-wracking thing, And I just hope that it wasn't a disaster of a call. That's all, really, and I do remember at the end John saying something like a call back, and I just thought, okay, that's just all I need to hear. I will.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess he doesn't say that to everybody. So yeah, that I'm sure was, it meant that he meant it. Yeah, I know, I don't call into other, radio shows or even leave feedback all too often. So I can understand the nervousness, just kind of maybe putting myself in your shoes. Obviously I I don't think you should sense any sort of, like, I don't know, star strickenness with John and I. It's like this is about as normal. Like, we're just broadcasting a Zoom call basically right now. It's just like I just hit a button, that's all.
Well,
So-
wait,
There
who?
were years before that way where I was like I think you've described it quite well as the quiet friend in the room. That kind of feeling when listening to podcasts, particularly when you and John are riffing before you get to the wrestling bit.
Yeah.
So a lot of the audience feel like they know the two of you pretty well. And I would say that they do know the two of you pretty well because there's no real bullshit about that. Having gotten to know you, on a more one-to-one basis, there's no performance about that early part of the show where you're just chatting about what you did that weekend. It's very genuine. So,
Well, cool. Thanks. Do you guys like the call-in portions of the shows?
It depends.
yeah,
Like anything, I like that you do it. I like that you offer that, and I don't listen to too many other similar types of wrestling review shows, but I feel like that's certainly a key differentiator between Post and most others, that you allow that. But like it depends. Like I feel like you used to be a bit more editorial, let's say, with people in the past. Like I feel like you've gotten nicer over time. Like I think
when I would cut them off.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I was probably a lot more conscious of, like, oh, like, are people, like, are we going too long? Is this interesting? But I mean, I don't know if I'm one to necessarily judge,
But it's your show.
I guess, but like, something I might not find interesting, other people might.
But aren't you going off of like your own instinct when it comes to creating?
Yeah, to an extent, but if I feel like somebody is making, like, a pretty coherent point, I'm happy to hear them out, but yeah, it depends on a case by case basis. So you feel like I've let looser over time?
I think. I don't know, but maybe you've also just I don't know. And we've talked about this in private. You used to be a lot more dry and nonchalant in your presentation.
Like when?
Oh, I'm talking about like
Like years ago.
8 years ago.
Right.
pre-post, I would say.
Yeah. It seems like you've I don't know if it's taken it more seriously. I'd imagine so, given that this is your business.
Right. So with the callers, I've gotten less serious, but with me personally, I've gotten more serious with my own presentation.
Yeah. Yeah. But I will say, in general, you guys attract like good people, good listenership, good viewership. And in general, yeah, like the callers are great. And again, I like that I'm not just hearing two people the entire time, like, offer their viewpoint.
Mm-hmm. Right. Any constructive feedback from either of you, Neal?
I think you used to be very indulgent of me in the early days because I'm well aware that my calls would sometimes
Yeah, you
continue
definitely
for
were.
quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like too nice almost, Neal. Was that the issue way? Did it feel?
No, it was just more like, maybe at that point I was a lot more like, oh, how do I cut this off? How do I cut this off? Because I'm so conscious of time, right? Because and like now I'm like, whatever, like, if the vibe is fine, like, I like, what's the big deal? Like, people could fast forward this, they can tune out or whatever. Like, I don't even care that for that reason, just because I just don't think it's just a natural conversation. That's what I'm trying to capture, right?
Right, but if in the moment you're feeling like, okay, Neal has said the same thing, but for the 5th time now.
Yeah, I
And
will
if,
try to drag him along. I'll try to lift out, pull out, like help him along, with what he's trying to say. Just as John would do for me if I he senses I'm kind of rambling.
So Neal, would you be aware of you doing that or not necessarily?
I think so. I think almost too self-aware, because I'm the sort of person who'll say, I'm rambling at this point, and then, but still continue to do
But
it.
then you keep doing it.
Yeah, but hang on. I think, are we talking in the present tense at this point? I feel like I've done quite a bit of work to.
No, you
become
have.
like
I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
more
I don't
about
notice
when we
it now.
first got to know you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, and I was very well aware of that. And in fact, you helped me with that, Jordan, and sort of becoming a little bit more.
How have you
concise.
helped him? I'm curious. What's the coaching that you kind of gave him for that?
I think it's more Neal. I'm interested in your take on it. I think for me, my approach is to like build awareness and to call it out. And I mean, you do it, Neal. And I think the last time you and we had a call, I think you acknowledged it without even saying it directly. Like at the end of a call, you like to take more time to have an end of the call. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
What does that mean?
I would honestly say that that's a cultural thing. It's a very Irish, or maybe beyond that, British and Irish thing.
What does that mean exactly?
so it's okay. The call has naturally come to an end,
Yeah.
and then it's almost like a new chapter to the call for Neal, in which there's like
he's
stuff
got
he
a
wants.
long goodbye.
Yes,
there's an
like
off-ramp.
there's things he wants to like express or contribute. And I totally get that. And he and I have acknowledged, I think a lot of this is cultural. So, I live in the East Coast, the Northeast of the US, and maybe the Jewish culture, it has something to do with it, where it's just a quicker tempo. And I think in general, at least I'm much more to the point and like, all right, let's like not waste our fucking time, even though I can also take great delight in just rambling on and on and on about nothing. But when it comes to I don't know, often when I'm chatting with Neal, I feel like I've already understood what he's trying to express, and he still has like a couple sentences to get it out of him, if that makes sense.
Just wanted to acknowledge Adam Joyce, who says, us Irish love to say goodbye in multiple phases. Yes, we have people listening here. Chris Leone says, wait, I thought an Irish goodbye was leaving without speaking to anyone.
We take great offense to that phrase, meaning that, because it's the exact opposite in real life. An Irish goodbye is like 45 minutes of not leaving and sort of going around everybody.
So this
in
is an
real
actual
life.
term like that people would use, an Irish goodbye?
In the US, my understanding is an Irish goodbye is the person just leaves without saying anything. They spot a quiet moment and then just slip off.
And there's a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode about that.
Oh. Could it be that like maybe that was the case, and then the Irish have since overcompensated, really drawing up the goodbyes just to fight this stereotype?
Could be, of that heinous phrase. Yeah.
Well, I don't dislike it. I mean, if I have somewhere to be, I suppose it could be a bit, annoying. But I find some of the best conversation might occur towards the end. At the goodbye, right?
I agree. Sometimes Jordan and I are maybe sort of conducting business, if you like, or being a bit more intentional about things. And then at the end, I'll say something like, so what are you up to this weekend? And it'll, then I'll want to know more. But he's done at that point, it's like,
yeah.
Well, wait,
what phone Flanagan speaking for an hour and a half. So,
but wait, I admire you because I feel like relative to other people I know, you are more direct about stuff like that. Like, I feel like you'll just say, okay, I'm done.
I guess, because I just have to, do something else. And I find you guys are very respectful of the time. I also, I feel like you guys are more loose with each other, you know, and you guys like maybe have just sort of like you're not as afraid of taking up each other's time. Whereas I feel like you might be a bit more conscious of taking up my time, which you don't necessarily have to be, but maybe just kind of given the nature of like what my job is, I guess, you know, sometimes I'm just like needed elsewhere and you guys don't want to take up my time.
And maybe it's time for you to look after Oscar, so there's that too, which
yeah. Or maybe I've just had enough of you guys, and you know,
I'd like to think that's
truth.
it.
Yeah. Dickie Bird has been a member for 9 months at the channel. Thank you for the support,
Wow.
Mr. Bird. He says, Jordan, let's have a baby.
Another one.
Yeah.
Mrs. Dickey going to think about this? You know.
Yeah.
And what's Jordan going to think about this?
I don't really have the baby fever right now, but I do like me some dick birds. So
well,
join
the club.
Yeah. So what have we learned here? There are 12 people watching, which is about the amount of same amount of people, if not even more than some of our other topics here. So like that we've done in the past. So should we just like not have topics anymore for the wellness policy?
I think people gravitate to as we found in December when we do the no topic shows, and I'm sure people will call in probably more than they normally do, but I do feel sometimes the topics are very interesting for us to dig into, but it's possible at least, you know, at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday when most people are in the middle of their working day.
Yeah.
If it's something that doesn't grab them,
yeah,
it can wait. You know, that they'll maybe catch up on audio later on or something. I don't know. That's just a feeling. You know, it's a theory of the case.
Well, why don't all 13 of you guys watching live let us know? You can call in right now with the Zoom link that I just dropped into the chat room. And sorry, StreamYard. What am I talking about? StreamYard link that's in the chat room. Call in. You don't even have to have your camera on. We just want to hear your voice. Or if you're really shy, and that's perfectly fine, leave a note. Leave a chat message. What do you want to say? This is your chance. Get it off your chest. You have something to you know say about our speech pattern, you know, the way we dress today, the way we conduct ourselves in our lives. You just let us know, we'll try to field the topic.
And what's been going on with you guys as well? There's some big events. I'd like to rewind just very slightly to the humor thing, if I could. Wait, I mean, I think it's never that far under the surface with you and John.
What do you mean?
Last night, and I've told you know, I've clipped you, I've shown you the clip of this. John's mentioning that it was in respect of Cody's promo being a wee bit kind of I'm here and not much more than that. And he said, well, you know, Balor sat on him last week. And, you know, you said something along the lines of, well, you know, you don't want someone to sit on you, do you? You know, and John went, no. And you added, not in public anyway, which I thought was hilarious. And also slightly uncharacteristic because it's clearly, you know, you were sort of like, it's the wee smile where this thought had come into your head. But I don't know if you go there that often.
I'm sick. I'm sick in the head. Yeah. And
I mean, I know.
I guess I have to protect my image here, my very clean cut, you know, professional image here. So yeah.
I've had glimpses of it. We all have, in fact, those who are committed enough fans to, you know, to listen to the review of Freddie Got Fingered, for example. You know,
yes,
we'll have an idea of what Way's sense of humor is really like.
It comes out occasionally, but I appreciate you pointing that out, Neal. It always feels nice to know people are enjoying and laughing along with us, or at least me, because I don't know if John even caught it. So, hey, let's go to our first phone call. We are going all the way to Sweden and Aram.
Yay!
Welcome.
Oh, hey.
Wow.
I'm actually in Denmark now. But
Denmark. Sorry.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Should you? I'm doing good.
Look at him. So you're going to share a room with Neal this weekend?
He's gonna share a room with me. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. How do we feel about this?
Uh, You can ask my wife about that.
Wait, what do you mean? Your wife's not going to be there, right?
No. But she was like wrestling is a very niche thing here in Denmark and Sweden. It's like non-existent. And I told her that I wanted to go to this wrestling show in London. And she was asking, like, with who? With this guy known on the internet. and
That's so funny.
yeah, and she was like asking, who is this guy? Well, he's almost like he's 50 or 60 years old.
I'm not going anymore. 60.
No. I can't.
How did you
remember
describe Neal to your wife? I really need to know.
Yeah. She thought that we were going out to party. I'm going. I didn't know. I can't even remember how I described him. I just remember her asking me that if I'm going to London to stay at a hotel with an elderly fella that I've never met to watch people jump in, in underwear. Like that was pretty much it.
I'm not loving this elderly thing. Can we,
Well, Neal, I had to explain that you're not a party animal.
right, okay. For the benefit of your wife.
Where did you just go around?
Yeah,
You're only to end up in the same place.
Yeah, but it's because I'm at my work, and
where do you work, man? Like
I work
a dungeon.
I do work in a house. Like,
okay,
this is my workplace. It's
beautiful.
a house. I have to take care of my patients upstairs.
It looks very Danish. I hope you, and I mean that as a compliment.
Oh, well, it is. It looks like this is also how the prison looks like here.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, please continue your point.
Well, there was no point, but I'm like, it's really weird. It's a really odd conversation I have, and when I tell other people, like, I have to be completely honest with my wife when I tell her that I'm going. But when I tell other people I'm going to London, I don't tell them about Neal. I don't tell them about wrestling. I'm just saying I'm going to see some show, like some entertainment show, because like it's too difficult to explain what it is. And yeah. But
so then, how did you find wrestling or get into wrestling?
I actually the first event I saw on TV was with my mom. Was SummerSlam '92, because back then it was probably the first big show that was airing on a local time that was like reasonable for us to watch.
And Neal, I guess you would have been in your early 30s then?
Oh, much older, I think. Yeah.
So you've had to basically like suggest or like almost. I mean, you're not keeping a secret because you're embarrassed. You're keeping a secret because you just don't want to go through the hassle of explaining what professional wrestling is. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
You had like here in Denmark, there's the only one I know that watches wrestling are people who actually believe it's really real. I have like a patient who lives here who like comes to me and said, "Oh, have you seen what they've done to Roman Reigns? I don't care." He goes so full into it that it affects his mood.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's people don't enjoy it here. It's a different market over here, if you can say it like that.
And when you hear about European tours, it's going to be WWE that people recognize, and even then, it's always really they don't go beyond France and Germany. To my knowledge, occasionally Italy, I think, but not Scandinavia. So it's just not in the culture there. Aram, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. They've been here once, I think in 2017. I remember Ginger Mahal was like the main event. And they had like one house show, and I think it was like around 8,000 people. And they've never come back since. I don't think they will again.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear
Yeah.
that. So so to people in Denmark, you might as well be going to like, I don't know, like some sort of like cult like meetup, you know, like that you don't even want, like some Scientology, you know, convention, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
you just don't
yeah.
even want to explain it, what it is. It's so weird.
Yeah, it'll explain why Neal, he's like a bit of a cult leader.
Yes. So
Yeah,
why did you call in, Ron?
Yes.
I just wanted to say hi. I'm at work. I have nothing to
Oh.
do right now. I always, like the last couple of times I've missed the wellness policy. I just wanted to say hi and to ask Neal if he's gotten all of tickets, if he's ready. And I've been hassling him a lot because
He has. Aram's a
Yeah.
super organized person. I have all of the tickets for. We're going to Rev Pro on Saturday night to see
What?
Osprey and Shingo. It's going to be a really good wrestling show. That's on Saturday night. All In It, which is Braden and Davies' thing with the grapple guys as well on Sunday afternoon, and of course the Wembley show. I'm still working on the football for you, Aram. It's tricky. It's very difficult to get two seats together, and I feel like we won't be able to talk, but we'll see. I am working on it though.
No, don't worry about that. I don't care. It's gonna be a great weekend.
How have you disclosed your heights to each other? Because that to me is usually the biggest shocker when I see people off the internet.
I don't think so. I don't know.
No.
How tall are you, Aram?
He's going to give centimeters.
Yeah, 178 centimeters.
Okay.
That's
How about you, Neal?
5'11", I think.
Yeah, that's about my height. Yeah, 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
How about you, Neal?
6 foot and a bit, 6 foot and 1/2 inch or something like that. Not quite 6'1".
Okay. Are you prepared for that, Aram? I guess now you
Not
are.
much difference.
Oh well, yeah, certainly. It's a really weird thing for me. Like,
As he steps back into it.
What kind of patience do you have?
so
I think the ex offender. Am I allowed to say any of this, Aram?
You
work in rehabilitation, isn't that correct?
I will move away so I can speak without.
No.
getting-
This is where I have to put my producer cap on and get serious about the show, because we have plenty of callers. Okay, the whole world wants to chime in on the wellness policy.
Yeah.
Aram, last thing, what do you have to say as you speak from the total darkness?
Well, nothing. Just have a nice evening.
Okay.
I'll go into my patients now and take care of them. And we'll
Okay.
see you on
Bless them.
Saturday, Neal.
Yes,
Yeah.
can't wait.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you, bud. Well, I'm glad all his patients waited to be cared for so he could do that.
Yeah, of course.
That was-
This is
Heaven
more
help them.
important. Hey, let's go up next to a fan favorite here. Steve likes weed.
Steve likes weed.
Steve likes weed in honor of your brother.
Yes, Justin has rebranded you. I think
Yes.
this works.
Yeah, it's not bad. I can do it. I had some friends actually start trying to do that. They were all drunk and talking to me, and they're just like, "We gotta get you to be like Steve likes weed, man, because
Why?
then people will know you." I'm like, I'm already Steve grows weed. Fuck off.
What's
That
the
was
difference?
I have no idea. I guess growing it, liking it. I mean, if you grow it, you should like it, right? You'd think so.
See, growing it would suggest an even greater dedication to
Like a lifelong journey, yeah.
Yeah, and that you've got some as well. I think that
Okay.
gives you the
What's that banner behind you? It's got your name on it.
That's Steve grows weed.
Oh wow! Wait.
Yeah.
So you had this? Who designed this? And then you
I
decided to
designed
print
it, and then I had there was a company, a nutrients company, that sponsored me for a short time. That actually were printing these, so I got it printed. It's
Sponsor
my
you for
old
what?
logo though. I want to sponsor me for like nutrients, just to like advertise the nutrients. But I've
Like
actually
on your
updated my
platform?
logo.
How big
Yeah,
is your
I'm-
platform?
I mean, Instagram, I got like 1,700 people or something like that.
Wow, that's
and-
really good.
YouTube like 90. So,
Wow, I didn't even know you made like content.
I even got a mug.
Wow. Cool. So you're
That was
very
my birthday
dedicated.
gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you got a brand.
It's your identity.
Yeah, you guys know that. You got a brand.
Yeah.
So
Jordan's
how's
the
your
drum guy.
wellness?
I mean, it's been off and on. It's like, this summer's been a little crazy. So, but
What does that
it's been
mean?
pretty good. I don't know. I haven't been myself for like a few months now. Like I've had a lot of ups and downs for a few years, for like since January, I guess. So, but summer's not been too bad. So,
Well, what would describe what being yourself would? What would that feel like?
chill, just not having a bunch of stress in my life. So right now I got tons.
Is it stuff
I don't want to get in.
happening, Steve?
Yeah, things are going on. I don't I don't want to get into all my personal crap, but I mean, it was just like, I don't know. Yeah, just a lot of red tape in my life. That's I guess a good way to put it. And it's just, yeah. So, but I mean, I manage. I mean, it is what it is. You get through it, So yeah, I'm better than I was a few months ago, but yeah, it's always, I mean, everybody has their ups and downs, right? I was going through a bit of a down, and now I'm kind of heading into an up. So
You're feeling more like yourself recently?
But yeah, the last few months, it's like this summer, I was just like, you know what? I just want to have fun. I'm not going to worry about all the crap, and I'm just going to enjoy myself. I've gone to a few concerts, stuff like that, bit of camping.
Who have you seen?
Our Lady Peace, a band called the Headstones. I don't know if you know them. They're a Canadian band. And Live. We're horrible live. It's not even that they're not even horrible. They're boring.
I saw them many times between, let's say, 1997 and the year 2000.
Yeah, I've seen them twice now. Which, like, who else did I see? Oh, Biff Naked, Sloan. You don't know any of these bands, Jordan. These are all Canadian bands. I've been on a big Canadian band kick lately.
Where did you see them? Curious.
Sloan?
Yeah. Oh, like any of those bands. Where do you go to see shows?
Norfolk. There's been festivals around here. Like there was one in Brantford, just outside of.
Because only Canadian acts would tour like relatively far off places like that, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't know. Concert tickets have been getting so ridiculously expensive, like the big shows.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like I'd rather just go see like smaller shows and or festival type shows where Plus, I hate being in a seat at a concert. I don't like sitting down. I like to move. I like to be up and having a good time. So.
Well, I'm the opposite now. I love sitting down.
Well, I'll stand, but I like that my seat gives me some dedicated physical space.
That's right.
Yeah. How many people were at this Our Lady Peace show? I saw them in Baltimore maybe 9 months ago, and that was maybe 500 people.
Oh, it was much more than that. Probably
I'd imagine
1,000
so.
At least, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible how
my wife absolutely loves that band, so she's just in her glory.
So do you guys have an opinion? Because clearly the singer, like what made what I think made that band, Rain, I think the two things that made that band distinctive when I was younger was his nasally voice and all the ghost notes in the drum performance. That drummer is no longer in the band. No, but
podcast host now.
Yes. I think Braden may have worked in the same building with him or something.
I interviewed him once actually for my YouTube show.
Amazing, yeah, a fantastic drummer. That guy is. But Rain's, I guess as he's gotten older, the register in his voice has kind of deepened, so it doesn't really sound like Our Lady Peace live that much anymore. They were very good, but it just didn't sound like them. So I was wondering if you and or your wife had opinions on that.
I think she doesn't see it. I've noticed it, but it's I feel like he's found a way to do his old hits in a way that still works, They had a thing for a new song they had come out with that you could scan your QR code or whatever to get it. And I was not a fan of whatever that was. It didn't have the same kind of style or anything that it used to, and maybe that's what it is he's trying to sing to his strengths now. And I mean, yeah, however much it is, 30 years on the road and stuff, your voice isn't going to be the same,
I mean, a lot of bands just like, you know, like change the key of their songs, right?
Mm.
As they get older, and you almost get like a different sort of quality. Like I know Metallica does it, you know, for
Very
a lot
much
of their
so.
old songs. So
You kind of look like James Hetfield.
Oh,
Steve.
that's
Oh,
that's
totally.
a huge compliment. I actually named my oldest son after James Hetfield. I was a big
Wow.
Metallica fan in my youth.
Wow.
So, and I found that he never really did his songs justice live. I found, you know, like even back in the day, I saw them in the early '90s, and like it's not the same now as it was then, but it still wasn't quite. You know, they had a good sound, but it was different. You know, it was always different.
Well, it's such a physically taxing style. you
Yeah,
know?
growling like that. How do you
Or just
not
even
lose your
playing.
voice?
you
Well,
know,
that too. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what being more like yourself would be, like going to concerts and what else?
Just more outdoors. Like I'm a big hiker and backpacker, and I haven't had the energy and time. And I don't know if that's like a depression thing or whatever it is, but it's like I just don't have the physical energy. Like I try to be active, but it's this. I was off for like 3 weeks there during the challenge, and my
Mhm.
challenge was to try to close that ring every day. I didn't quite do that, but I will say I was extra active like throughout
You-
that whole time. So,
The ring
but-
is something to do with an app, right? You have a
Yes,
fitness
sorry.
tracker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a fitness app where I had it set to try to burn a certain amount of calories. Point is, if you don't have your phone in your pocket the entire time, it doesn't really work, you know? So there was
And
times
you
where I was
don't have
doing a
your
lot of
phone in your
activity.
pocket all the time?
Apparently not. So
Very commendable.
there was one, I'm going to let you in on something. This is maybe it's
Okay,
not
shh,
appropriate.
quiet,
We'll find
quiet,
out in a
everybody.
second. All right. So I was wanting to close the app, and it's like it resets at midnight, right? So I was like 100 calories away from closing this circle. It was around 11 o'clock at night, and I was thinking, okay, wife's going to go to bed soon. I'm going to take out the dog for a walk. Well, doesn't she want to get frisky? Well, my app's not in my pocket for that.
What?
So I'm not going to say no. Well, I'm not going to say no, right? So
Wow.
I go and handle my business. By the time I'm done and she's asleep, I've got 15 minutes. And I'm thinking about you guys. It's like I want to
what?
close my ring. I want to be a part of this challenge. So I left the house at 11:45, and I am like power walking my dog, trying to kill this last 100 or 120 calories.
Post coitus?
Yes.
Wow. That's quite the admission, Steve.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Right,
I
sweet.
mean, I
And
would
I
have
will
just put,
admit it didn't happen. I did not
Oh.
make it happen. So that was my first fail.
You not
It was like 4
strapped
days
the phone to yourself in some.
yeah.
No, let's not.
That
go
would have
there.
been the way to go.
Yeah, she would have been like, "What the hell?"
I think virility is a big theme in the like Swede / grow Swede family, Steve, because you're a big brood. You're a grandfather several times over, so yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And all this. I feel like I'm older than you, Neal. I'm not sure. So all this like elderly talk.
Are you
that's
older
coming
than
at
60?
You. Older than 60. Not
Any
quite. No.
advance on 60?
And keep the salt and pepper. The salt and pepper looks good.
Yeah,
Okay,
it looks cool.
thanks.
I got a
Yeah,
whole
I'm
bunch
getting
of salt
positive
right in the
feedback.
front here.
What do you do for your beard? Like how do you trim it? How do you cut
Just by hand, just like yeah. Not.
it?
I
Do you
don't
like
know.
have a comb? Do you have a measure, or is it just like
No, I just
Yeah.
kind of whenever I see something straggle, I kind of just trim when needed.
scissors?
Yeah, literally scissors. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Do you like put any wax or anything? I'm very curious.
I do sometimes. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, to shape
good.
and brush. I have a special brush for it and stuff too.
Very nice. Okay. Well, thank you for Steve for sharing you with us. I feel like I got a genuine Steve interaction here.
Well, it's nice to talk to you guys. It feels like it's been a long time, so that's good.
Okay. All right. See ya.
Steve likes weed.
Cheers,
There
guys.
he is.
Bye bye.
He does.
Wow.
Hey, let's go up next to Stefan Kyle Gosine. Am I saying that right?
Yep, you are. Stefan Kyle Gosine, that's me.
Hey,
How's
what's up?
everybody
Hey,
doing?
Stefan.
Have you called into
Good
the
to
Wellness
see you.
Policy before?
I have, I think, once or twice. Not too often, though. And that's
Okay.
actually one of the things I was going to discuss.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. As, you know, to echo Steve, as he said there, my wellness this year hasn't been great. As some of you may remember, lost my father last year. And as I'm sure some of you unfortunately are aware, when you lose a loved one, it's not just about the loss of the loved one, but the impact that it has on everything around you and, all of the relationships around you. And that impact continues to spiral outward. Over the course of the last year or so, trying to get better and try to handle my things, I finally sought some counseling and went on some medication. And admittedly, for the first month or so there, it was pretty rough. I felt I was apathetic and everything was kind of gray. And then all of a sudden I woke up and it was like a switch flipped. And one of the most important and interesting things about that is I suddenly felt like I had a sense of self-worth and self-esteem, kind of a pride in myself that apparently I'd never had before. And it was in that new light that I was then able to experience some of the things of the summer, like going to Forbidden Door, which was incredible and something that I probably wouldn't have done beforehand. And as a result, I've just become a lot more comfortable in myself, choosing to be a little bit more outgoing and a little bit more contributory. Yeah, is that a word? I don't know. Contributing to discussions more than I would have in the past, instead of, keeping it in my head and thinking to myself, maybe I would say something and then letting my anxiety take effect. And yeah, that's basically it. It's been nice to have this kind of arena to be able to just listen to. Most of the time I don't get to listen live, but in rare occasions like this I do, but most of the time I get to listen afterwards, and it's a great joy.
Wow.
Well, thanks for sharing and calling in. I'm wondering, you said it was almost like a switch that flipped, and you mentioned counseling and medication, but can you point to what happened?
To be completely honest with you, it seems like a negative, as weird as this is going to say, but there was a negative personal event. A few people got into, social problems as they would. And in the sort of dealing with those problems, it sort of forced me to deal with a lot of the underlying issues that I had swept under the rug since my father passed away. And now, instead of trying to return back to what my life was before, I'm focused on building, for lack of a better term, a new normal. What a new life is and a new joy is. I am, everybody complained, for example, about how much the G1 was this year, and watching the G1. I watched every show live for the first time this year, didn't miss a thing, and it worked out great for me because I was up at 5 a.m. to make my daughter's lunch for summer camp. So I had that opportunity, and it was the best G1 experience I've ever had, right? I know that no one else can say that, but something that I can have.
Absolutely wonderful. That's so awesome. So wrestling for you kind of provides like that bit of regulation.
Significantly. It is a huge part of my life. It always has been since childhood, and something that, my wife is very well aware of. My child has been watching basically since she was born. I've got an Instagram picture of her a month old watching, I think it was like the second Dynamite with a couple of her godfathers, and she still will sit down and watch Stardom with me, and she's having a great time. Right?
It's amazing. Wow, you're giving her some good wrestling to watch.
That's the intent, right? I don't, at least to me, pro wrestling is like comic books. It's just a medium for storytelling, and how you tell the story is kind of independent of the medium. You've got your comedy, you've got your really hardcore sports oriented, and you've got your just absolutely off the wall stuff like DDT. And one of the things that I keep trying to explain to my daughter is that if we watch something in wrestling and she doesn't like it, I can find her something that she will like. and we go through it. And there have definitely been times that she's asked me to, turn off a match. She didn't like it, and I'll put on something else. Usually I'll switch to Stardom or something like that, and she's having a great time.
That's absolutely awesome.
Awesome.
It's very courageous that you would even decide to call in to, share that story and everything that you've been through. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan, like you had a similar loss this year. Do you feel like you've, can you update the audience on maybe like what your recovery process might be like?
It's hard. It's weird. Like I think about it and the loss, and I think about my dad every day. I'm talking about it a lot less, I'm noticing. But I still get that gut punch maybe a couple times a week where it hits me like at a felt sense of like, oh yeah, like he's gone and he's not coming back. And like that but it doesn't stick to me like it did maybe, 5 months ago or so. And there's also a part of me, and I guess I'm verbalizing this for the first time, but it's a newer thought that I've been having where it's like, should I mention it to my girlfriend Lily every time I'm feeling it? Should I mention it to other people? And I'm watching myself maybe in an unhelpful and unkind way kind of censor myself, because it's almost like this isn't the only thing I want to keep bringing up. But yeah, I don't know where I'm at with that. So that feels newer. I wasn't feeling that resistance a few months ago. But I don't know. It's a weird fucking process. I wouldn't be surprised if it felt worse than it has been right now in the future, because I realize the grief is nonlinear. But it's sad. It sucks. And I'm doing my best to, and I also feel kind of lost. Like I don't feel like I have a process, if that makes sense. Like I'm well aware of Jewish custom, maybe not even well aware. I am aware of some of what the Jewish custom is. And I think there's like an 11-month period for the children who lose their parents. But that's something I've never really engaged with or even explored in a meaningful way. And beyond that, like, I don't know of any other wisdom traditions, like what they would do when one loses a parent. So in some ways I feel kind of like I'm on a boat without a paddle, if that makes sense.
Do you think, Jordan, that your reluctance to bring it up in conversation is in any way linked to the fact that people aren't asking, people aren't checking in as much as they would have in the couple of months after?
Maybe. And I think part of it is, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's part of it. And I don't know if a part of it is me just trying to like let it go and move on. I don't know. It's very murky and confusing. And I appreciate the opportunity to, even in a public way, kind of voice some of this stuff or work through it for the first time in this way. Yeah, I don't know, but it's it does feel good to have you guys ask. I know that right now in this moment, it feels like, okay, you guys care enough to create space for me to try to bring it to the surface and make of it what I will. So that's a nice thing. But yeah, it's hard. It's certainly hard.
So for Stefan, I mean, it sounds like doing the things he loves at least, helps maybe, either take your mind off of it or just to build some other regularity. And has that been the case as well? Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I kind of liken it as to salt in the wound. And I know this is going to sound weird because salt in the wound, it hurts, but it disinfects, right? And one of the things that I found, my daughter seems to have inherited my dad's love of music. and she has started playing the instruments that he loved a lot, the harmonica and the piano.
Cool.
And she has fallen in love with so much music that he loved, that I grew up on, that, you know, we'd never had the opportunity to show her, you know, grandpa loved this song kind of thing. She's discovering it organically. It's giving me the opportunity to bond with her over these things. And at the same time, while at the beginning it's dreadfully painful, you start to work through it, and it becomes a little bit more desensitizing. And, you know, after about a month, you know, that's how much time it took me, for example, with Billy Joel's Piano Man, right? Took me about a month to be able to listen to that without getting really, really emotional. But now, you know, we're playing it in the car, and my daughter and I are singing along, and it's a nice bonding experience for us. So the other and most important thing that I'll remember is, even if you do self-censor, as you said, remember that you're not alone. It is important to reach out. You know, if you don't feel like reaching out all the time, you don't have to, but just never feel like you're alone. Because that was something that I had to remember a lot, is that, you know, my dad is gone, but I have my wife, I have my daughter, I have my friends and family around me. So I'm not alone, and neither are you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Much appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Take care.
All right. A real spectrum of different calls, I have to say, you know.
Certainly.
And all of them lovely. So thank you guys who have called in so far. And we have another one here coming to us from Hansi. Welcome, Hansi.
Hey, Hansi.
Hey, Hansi.
How are you?
Good to see you, man.
Doing well.
No, I mean, I look better than I feel, but I just turned 40, so I'm.
Oh, congrats!
When was your
Happy
birthday?
birthday, man.
When was your
Yeah, happy birthday.
Well, it was a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, I appreciate it. No, I just like.
Yo, happy
I don't know.
belated birthday, Hansi.
I appreciate. I just listen. I just think that, like, I don't know. I don't feel any different, but it's just so weird, man. That I'm here for 40 years, and, like, you know what I mean. Like, just like I'm still like I don't know, just still figuring stuff out, basically. And I just, like, sometimes I lose hope, and sometimes I need something to, like, you know, kind of like inspire me. So I kind of like try to like listen to, like, you know, this podcast, and, like, you know, like stuff that like tries to like not like, I don't know, I just never thought that I would be like, I thought 20 years ago when I was turned 20 that it was the end of the road there, and I was like, yo, there's no way I'm gonna last till I'm 30 or 40, and I'm unfortunate. I mean, not unfortunately, but I mean, like, I'm still here, but it just seems like everything is just getting more insane, and it's like, it's like sometimes I wonder how long I still gotta be here before it all goes to, like, you know, complete shit. You know what I mean? And I didn't really have a specific topic, but I just kind of like, I've been catching because I was kind of behind, so I just caught up, right? That's why I called it now. So I just kind of wanted to, like, I don't know, just give an update of where I am, but like,
Yeah.
I didn't really have the most, like, you know, the most thoughts to say today, basically. But I just, like, you know, wanted to chime in, I guess, because I always kind of try to chime in if I can call in. I didn't want to waste anybody's time or anything like that.
No, you're never a waste of time. I always like hearing from you. So,
Birthdays are weird, aren't they? I mean, I know that
Yeah.
some people have sort of pushed, or not commented way on the fact that you were 39 in March. Birthdays in
Yes.
March, isn't that correct?
Yes.
But you were referring to yourself lately as being 40.
That's right.
And I know that there was some people saying, why is he doing that? And you just said, well, you're rounding up.
John said that. I don't know who else has said that.
Yeah, well, that's what I heard. Yeah, so I assumed that maybe that someone else had, like, maybe tweeted something about that or whatever. But I had noticed it as well, because I knew that you weren't yet 40. But you
Aren't
were
we all the
referring
same?
to
Like,
yourself.
do you guys not do that? Or I guess, you know.
I'm kind of the same. I don't really care about, you know, I don't round up or anything like that. But, you know, I have to sort of think when people ask what age I am and stuff like that. It's other people are very focused on.
Hansi, what about you? When you're 39, did you call yourself 30 or 40 or did you think as a 40-year-old?
I try to maintain not being over 40, so I can just say that. But it got to the point after 30 that I would forget. Like, for example, in 2014, I was already 31, and I still thought myself 30. And that's been the hardest part in the 30s is not knowing the exact age, because you're like, hold on, like, I got to do my math again. It's really, really, really difficult, whatever. But no, I don't round up. I try to maintain being as young as possible, but because people, I mean, because I already have the gray and all that
Young,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
but young is so relative, you know. Like to some
Yeah.
people, 30 is old, and to some people, 40 is young.
That's the running joke. And if you ever watch Sopranos, whenever like anyone dies who's like in their 40s, they always go, he was 45, he's just a kid. Like that's always a recurring theme. So I always kind of like think about it in that way. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm 40-year-old. I'm still just a kid basically. But no, it's just weird, man. It's just like, you know, I just didn't think that like I would still be in the same like position that I am since like 10, 15 years ago. But I mean, I feel at least mentally, like I feel like the last couple of years I've been mentally better, and I think that like communities like this have kind of helped me, like, you know, at least not feel like I have to like become like a over the top character and like get into fights and arguments with everybody and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes like I try. That's why I don't try to like overbear myself with this community as much, because I know some days that like my mental health would not be right. Like, so I don't want to like put any like, you know, like any type of like, you know, anguish on you guys if I'm like having like an irrational day. So I think like when I come to interact with you guys on like whether on this show or other shows, I normally try to come when I'm a little bit more peaceful mentally. Even though like you know being depressed a lot of the time, you know, you never really have a lot of peaceful thoughts all the time. You know, you're always, it's like the best, that guy Camille of that comedian, the Camille, I think he said it best one time, where he said that having mental illness is like feeling every emotion within the span of like 20 minutes, and then it goes on loop essentially. And that's like, you know what I mean? It's like right now in this loop, I'm right now in a positive mood right now, but like in 5 minutes or so, I might be like pulling my beard out because I'm like already like depressed about something else, basically. You know what I mean? But I just want to thank you guys for like, you know, being a good show. I really enjoy the show, and I try to call it as much as I can. But you guys, like with the addition of Neal as well, like I really feel the show has really become like one of the more better shows that you guys do. You know, I like all your shows obviously, but I just want to thank you guys for like, you know, being there for when I need to talk. I just never want to be too overbearing for you guys, man.
You're never like, and honestly, like we wouldn't do calls if people weren't calling in, and the fact that you choose to put yourself out there as often as you do, I think takes so much courage. Again, I don't do it for other shows, you know. And I think it just like it makes the show, like it keeps the segment alive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing these things. So, you don't have to thank us.
No, that's good. It's cool, man. What's it called? Neal, man, enjoy All In, man. I enjoy seeing you at Forbidden Door all over.
Yes. No, that was great.
That was so surreal, man. And
it
Jordan,
was. It was just one of those moments that turned around. And there's Hansi. Oh my God, you know. And it was very brief, just hello, really, before the show. But yeah, no, it was quite meaningful. And I think Hansi.
I wish Jordan was at the Forbidden Door.
Yes, me too.
I was actually looking for him, but it was cool meeting all you guys there, man. It was like surreal seeing like, you know, Bruce Lord, seeing Phil. And like everyone was so friendly. There was a handsy chant and everything like that. It felt like the best day of my life, basically. But
hey,
listen, you guys
you don't have to wrap up. You don't have to like give us an Irish goodbye. Okay, like you like let's spend some time here talking to you, Hansi. You know, because like I often feel like you make a really interesting point that I want to talk to you about, but then I think you're very self-conscious about not taking up too much of our time, so you kind of rush to close.
All right, if you guys want to talk about anything, man, I'm open. I just don't want to waste your guys' time. You know what I mean?
You're not. No, not at all.
I think it's very kind and self-aware to say what you said about that you want to interact when you feel that it's positive and good and all of the rest of it. And I think that's, you know, real credit, Hansi, because, you know, it's look, I don't want to make, I'm trying to phrase this so it doesn't sound in any way patronizing, but I don't know I don't know what you go through in that sense, but I imagine it's difficult. So it's, I think you deserve all the credit in the world.
No, that's cool. And I think also my self-confidence comes from, I guess, because I used to call to the Stern Show. If you were like 5 minutes over, like, like your interest time, whatever, then you'd have like a bunch of people like calling you racist stuff. Basically, no one here is gonna do that to me, right? No. But it's like you hear from the fans like, oh, he stayed on this long. Oh, you better let that terrorist get off. Like, dude, chill the fuck out. It's just a radio show. You know what I mean? So that's why I've always been self-conscious about, but no one in this community has called me a terrorist. You know what I mean? So I don't have to really worry about that, whatever. But no,
it sounds like it was like a real, like, double-edged sword, right? Like your time on the Stern Show. I mean, it still, correct me if I'm wrong, still feels like a part of your identity because it was such a big platform, right?
Well, no, and I talked to you about the whole Dark Side of the 2000s on the Friday show, whatever. Yeah, like, dude, like, reliving that. Like, at least I was glad I wasn't called for this documentary if they wanted to call me, whatever. But like, the thing is like, it's just like reliving like all the beefs that went on and how like low everybody got in that. It just reminds you of like, holy, it's like this is the type of environment that I was around online. Because you're connected to the show, and it's constantly like just nonstop like drama. Because their fans want to live vicariously to them, so they start this online drama, and then they feel like they're obsessed with you, and if they don't have ownership over you, they then try to get really possessive. And that's one thing that I've noticed that like at least like in other communities, like I call into Post Wrestling, and I call into maybe this leftist show, Matt Binder's show, and it feels like people know me from there as well, whatever. But the thing is like nobody in these communities feel like, oh, I have ownership over him, and I deserve all his energy at all times and all that kind of stuff. I never had that. For the most part, people that contact me who listen to me on the show will say, hey, Hansy, I enjoyed your call, whatever, and all that. And that's like the most that you get out of it. But just like reliving that Dark Side of the 2000s thing, it just shows you like how much we spiraled. Did any of you guys watch that show?
I've been meaning to. Have you guys seen it?
No, I don't think we have it.
Yeah, but I mean, Hansi, it's almost like a totally. I mean, we're first of all like 0.0001% of like the sort of audience of like what a Stern Show would be. But you were a cast member essentially, right? Like you were a member, you were part of the entertainment that the show was trying to provide.
Depending on if you ask a bunch of the Stern fans, they just say, "Oh no, dude, you were just a call." Even though, like, I guess because like I wasn't kind of going in, like because I wasn't like I honestly when I had my first appearance in 2008, I didn't like it because I think Howard was trying to get me to like it was called the Biggest Loser contest, even though I was contributing, right? And I thought that was a kind of an insult. I know I'm a loser, but I can get chicks on my own. I don't need to get you guys hooked.
Did you willingly enter the Biggest Loser contest? Did you willingly?
Well, the producer didn't tell me it was called that. So when but I think they wanted me to stand up for myself, and I just kept trying to be too nice. And I just at the end of it, I just wanted to be friends with Artie Lang, and I think Howard didn't want me to like interact with Artie off air. Because they wanted it on air kind of thing. So I kept in 2008, 2009, I kept like I didn't call in as much. But like to like basically give me like courage and make me like feel like I'm useful. Artie or this guy John Hine, they would say, yeah, Hansy, he's a contributor to the show, right? And then when I started becoming more active and calling in, I think Howard just wanted to bust my balls, and he just kept saying, no, you're just a caller, or you're just a whack packer, and it was supposed to drive me nuts, whatever. So like so depending on who you ask, because if you ask my version, obviously people are going to be like, nope, that didn't happen. Hansy was never a call, and never a contributor. He was always whatever. But it's like, okay, fine. But
well, to me, there's not much distinction, right? Like if you created content for them, if you provided like you're given airtime, you filled the airtime with your thoughts, then you are to me a cast member. Even that, like, those labels are irrelevant. I guess what I'm trying to, like, maybe get at is like, I hope you can realize that, like, that part of your life, it was almost like, I hope you recognize it as a phase, and I hope you recognize that that's not who you are now. It doesn't need to be who you are now. It doesn't
No.
even need to stick with you. Like, it's a part of your life. It was a character that I guess you were encouraged to play,
Well,
and now it's something, you're somebody completely different.
yeah, well, I mean, and that's why I have to watch out for the spaces that I'm in. Because I don't mind dark humor. Sometimes people think I've gone too PC, but it's like, if I know that, like, also the edgelord humor is also like compromised and like kind of like a funded kind of mentality, I then go, okay, well then that just means that, like, okay, if I'm not PC, then it automatically means I have to be an edgelord. And when you interact with those circles, it's like they're basically pushed to then have, like, mean that if they know that you are a good-hearted person, they're going to constantly call you racist or homophobic things, right? So it means that they want to push you into going, okay, you know what? You're calling me that. I'm going to call you this, and I'm going to go just as hard as you. But at the end of the day, I don't feel good about that because I don't like crossing that line. But in order, like, with some fan bases, like, that's the only way that they understand anything. Because if you come around, oh, we shouldn't be saying these words and all that kind of stuff, they're gonna be like, oh, you're a PC cuck, you're a pussy for no.
Well, who cares what they have to say? Like, why give them any power?
Well, I mean, this is back when you're like, I'm not talking about just a fan. I'm talking about, like, the people you're in. Like, Artie would keep pushing me to, like, where I would have to, like, use the F word Artie because Artie would be doing it to me, like, nonstop. So it's like you're being pushed into these battles with some of these guys where you have to, like, go to their level in order to basically, like, survive an argument with them. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, but you're not, Hansi, you're not interacting with these people anymore, right? It's been a while.
No. Well, I mean, some of them do resurface if I do stream somewhere else, whatever, right? But, like, the only place that I kind of, if I'm on Reddit, there's a lot of people that are in that same mind space. But it's like there's a mixture of that. But I don't go out of my way. Like, even when after the Stern Show, there are a couple of YouTube shows that were trying to break free and become, like, more like Howard Stern, and they wanted me a part of their shows. But I said, I'm not liking the direction of, like, doing the Howard Stern show. I already been through that. And then they would get mad at me for, like, you know what I mean? And then if you don't want to go on their show, they would then pull Howard Stern tactics to then kind of bring you into drama nonstop. So I stopped interacting with, like, those type of community. That's why I try to keep it more limited. And I come on here because I don't feel like anyone is trying to push me to being an edgelord or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Hey man, I'm sorry I mean, for on the one hand, I'm actually really glad you have had that experience because I feel like you gained a lot from it. I don't know if it was just maybe, like, some sense of, like, I guess celebrity from doing something like that. But on the other hand, it seems to have, like, kind of, like, maybe had some negative effects on you, either in the form of the fan base or what. I just, I hope you can take the good from it and leave all the other bullshit behind, and as you move on to whatever it is that you're trying to do next.
Well, I'll say this: the part of the good that I can get from it, if, like, for example, I go on, like, if I watch other streamers on, let's say, Tumblr or whatever, and I have interaction with them, I try to take my experience of what I've been through if someone's new to streaming or new to like climbing up the quote unquote fame game, and I try to, like, at least give them like advice so they don't lose their mind. Like, I would say that you should always write a journal, and if you have irrational thoughts, jot them down, because sometimes I have irrational thoughts, and then if I go, okay, well, or like, for example, in my head, it'll be like everybody that exists in my head, I go, are they against me? Okay, well, I'm gonna say fuck you to all of them, whatever. But then it's like, after like 5 minutes or so, you're like, okay, I don't feel that way. So I feel like if you have a journal and you have irrational thoughts that you can't get out and you have no one to talk about it with, it's a good way to melt down your irrational thoughts and structure your thoughts. So that's what's helped me over the years. And plus, I just tell people that watch out who you deal with online when you're becoming more, because you don't want people thinking that they have ownership over you. That's the one thing that as somebody that becomes part of the public figure world, is that you don't want people thinking that they can have ownership of you and they demand every single moment of your time, basically. So that would be my advice. But I understand. The thing is, even though I regret a lot of shit, I don't regret that I've grown and evolved in professional wrestling sense. I've evolved into from Zack Ryder to Matt Cardona, essentially. You know what I mean? I become more of a main event type of personality, even though I'm like Dolph Ziggler, essentially, basically. You know what I mean? I had my time to be a world champion, but now I'm just kind of here being it should have been me. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, whatever. But I appreciate you guys letting me on. I didn't want to tour your time, obviously, but thanks for asking about this stuff, because I never want to stay on too long.
Oh, I could spend a whole 2 hours talking to you, Hansi. So call back next month, please.
For sure, Jordan. Again, I didn't get to talk to you much, but I give my condolences to you, bro, and I hope everything works out. I missed your Forbidden Pour, and I hope everything is good with you, man. Because I really miss talking to you too, bro.
Thank you, Hansi. I'll just say I'm very glad you found this community and have gotten experience of something that feels better than maybe some other communities you've been a part of in the past. So I'd say use those as green flags to keep looking for that as you continue to engage with people in the world. And no need to play a character, always best off just showing up and being yourself. I hope this community reflects that back to you. And very happy birthday. And we're all glad that you are still here 40 years later and are a part of community with us.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that much. And Neal, man, enjoy All In, bro. The call is going to be amazing, man. So
thank you,
Wade, for bringing me on, man. Anytime you need me to call in, bro, I'm always here to call in if you guys need me. Peace out, man.
Thank you, Hansi. Hey, I know, Jordan, you're on a curfew, but do you have a few minutes for a Neal Flanagan goodbye?
I do. Neal, you want to show him how you do it?
Oh, are we doing the farewells at this point?
I mean, I'm assuming you do have somewhere to be, Jordan, right?
Honestly, I just canceled the session I had. I feel like shit. I will say,
I'm sorry.
Physically, I feel like shit. Spiritually, I feel very rich right now. So thank you to you guys. So I'm not in the time crunch I was, because I'm not doing the work I was planning to do right after this. Gotcha. But
how have you liked the show?
It was I enjoyed myself. Did this work? I don't know. I don't even know what we did.
What does work mean?
I feel like it did. I don't know. It felt.
Yeah. Did you listen all the way to the end? If you're listening to this, and let us know. I guess that would be the sign of whether or not this was successful. But I mean, whatever. What's success?
I think I take away from it. Aram walking. It was kind of like a boiler room brawl type of scenario, and then he walked through it, and then he ended up back where he began.
Mm-hmm.
That was stunning. So I did enjoy that.
It's like a Space Odyssey, the big sort of
the wheel.
Infinite wheel. Yeah.
Neal, you're gonna have to tell us what it's like spending some time with this guy in person.
Yeah, no, I can't wait.
That
should be intriguing.
Wild.
Yeah.
Being insulted constantly about how old I am. So that's
you're
looking forward to.
Geriatric. So when we do these goodbyes, if you can put yourself in the mindset, Neal, what actually does happen at the end of our calls?
Well, Wayne normally takes charge of the beginning.
No. I'm saying our calls, our private calls.
I'll sort of think about. Well, we've been talking about me for a lot of it, and that's kind of the nature of what we're doing, So it's then I'll want to sort of go, oh God, Jordan's in. He mentioned in passing that he's in Annapolis, and I'm wondering, well, how's that, sort of thing. So yeah,
you're tying up the loose
ends. Up on stuff, yeah. Or when's the Disney trip and stuff like that. Stuff that you've just kind of mentioned in passing. That seemed to.
Oh yeah,
stick for
wait,
some reason.
on talk you guys were talking about Disney World. So you haven't really done like Disney or Universal?
I have actually. I've done both. I've done when I was a kid. I did Disney World, and when I was 10, I went to Disneyland. I have very little recollection of both of those trips.
Right, I guess I was saying you haven't done like as an adult.
No, I have not. No,
Huh. Are you into theme parks?
not really. No.
Why?
I don't do rides well. Like I get very nauseous. You know.
I'm
So,
that's getting way worse as I get older.
of course. And
like-
I'm sure the COVID probably doesn't help, right?
It certainly doesn't help, but I used to be into just any kind of roller coaster, and that's newer for me now where it's like, I don't know about all that. Really the thing that tripped me up for a while was these like 3D rides. Like I'll get super motion sickness doing that.
Like you go into the dome and then like
like
you watch the screen.
At Universal's Islands of Adventure, the main Harry Potter ride in the big castle, it's a ride where you're physically moving, but you're also wearing 3D glasses and there's screens everywhere. So it's one of the most impressive rides I've ever been on, but it makes me so nauseous.
You
And then
feel
kind of
G-force like in something like that or no?
no, and that's not really what trips me up. I don't know what causes the motion sickness, but it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just like the visual aspect of it all. But as far as like the physical movement, I'm good with that. But it's just these 3D rides, they fuck me up.
It's probably some form of sensory overload. I remember being a kid, and when they would do those, like, and this is just normal TV, no 3D glasses or anything like that. If they would show a film of a roller coaster, if you're young, you're sort of like, if you're watching it very intently, you start to feel a wee bit woo, and that's just a 2D, film on a TV screen. So I haven't been on one of these rides you're describing, but I feel like I would be, feeling a wee bit overloaded.
But with all that said, I'm going back in a couple weeks. I'm very excited.
I'm glad you enjoy them. I'm actually hoping to go to the zoo. I know you. That's a frequent hangout of yours, Jordan. But I'm looking forward to taking Oscar to the zoo at some point.
There you go. I'd imagine a Toronto Zoo is pretty nice. Yes,
I hear it's pretty good. I mean, I haven't been back again probably since I was like 11. So, I'm sure it's it's a good standard zoo. So
cool.
I don't know if we've asked Neal how he's doing in general. How are you doing, Neal?
I'm doing pretty well. I think you probably did, and I immediately said, "Well, I'm getting ready for All In or whatever."
Yeah, but that's not how you're doing. That's where you're going.
What I'm doing. Yeah, no, you're correct. No, I'm doing well. I'm reconnecting with some old friends lately. That's kind of a thing I'm being quite intentional about, and it's working out well. I don't know how much time we have, so I'll try to make this super concise.
I think we have 2 more hours. Jordan's canceled his appointment.
I'm trying out this. I don't know if you're familiar with the Notion way of affirmations. It's kind of just like positive statements that you say or think, preferably say out loud, and maybe have on a post-it note as well. Is this something I was reading about, and it feels kind of new agey and what have you, but the neuroscience behind it is fairly solid from what I can gather, because really any kind of self-talk, and we've done episodes that refer to this on the inner critic and things like that, is an affirmation. I have a very close relative who has the unfortunate verbal tick almost of saying I'm stupid every time they make a mistake, and I feel like that's a very negative affirmation that's probably been all the way from childhood. Some adult has said that at some point and it's stuck. So this is just basically the opposite of that. It's trying to find very positive can-do type stuff. And
so what do you do? You write
just
it down?
Recite them. Yeah, I think it's good to write them down. It's recommended to write them down so that you have something physical, and digital would work, but it's nice to have a piece of paper and make something with a pen and paper that you can have.
Neal, in 2023, why does a practice of positive affirmations feel new agey to you?
Good question. I don't know. I suppose it's just something you don't normally. It's quite a private practice.
Yeah,
So
it's
in that
unconventional.
respect, you don't see people do it. You know, people aren't wandering around the corridors of the office, you know, saying, I am loved and I love and things like that. But so
There's a stigma,
yeah, I
isn't
don't
it?
know. I guess so, but I also
There's a
feel
stigma
it's
to any sort of like I guess like I don't know, like Jordan, do you feel like maybe this sort of like positivity movement has been like over commercialized and you know, is that maybe part of the reason why the description of like, you know, I don't know, mantras or somebody talking about meditation too much or whatever, like, you know, eating green juice, like whatever, like that can be off-putting to some people.
I think there's truth to that. I also think that anything of real value probably will be over commercialized to some extent. And then culturally, sometimes we can like misconstrue what the actual wisdom is. Do I think like optimism and positivity are helpful and advantageous? Absolutely. Do I think some people can take that to mean, well, I should be positive and optimistic to the point where I don't acknowledge or feel actual difficult feelings? Like that's not helpful at that point.
Mm-hmm. Like The Secret, the book. Remember that?
Yeah, of course, or at least like I have a sense of what it was about. I mean, I guess with that, again, I think people make a very simplistic interpretation of what the point of something like that is, like law of attraction. We're like, well, if I just think about this future reality, like being rich, let's just say very generally, then the money will come. Or people are like bullshitting stuff like that because it's like, well, if I just think about it, like that's no, and like, no, well, that's not the point. The point is that what we focus on continuously should ultimately lead to behavioral change, right? So if we want to be rich, well, then maybe we start like engaging in ways that attract money to us. Instead of like just assuming, well, we should just like miraculously win the lottery because I'm putting dollar signs on a vision board, for instance.
There's oversimplification for anything, isn't there? Like, I mean, I'm sure anybody of any religion probably, you know, gets that as well.
Of course. But look, we're going to have self-talk whether we like it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not. So for someone like Neal to, with more intention, think of and commit to some sayings or some more idealistic beliefs, etc. If they're realistic, if they're helpful to him, the more that he says it to himself, the more that he reads it in front of him and so on. Again, I think in terms of rhythm. So, and rhythms repeated develop grooves. So if he's continuously saying to himself, like, I am lovable, for instance, then the more he repeats that, a groove is going to develop, literally like neurologically will develop and it will become more likely that he will think that, quote unquote, randomly.
So
but how random is that?
So even if you don't yet truly believe it, you're saying if you've repeated enough.
I think you can speak stuff like that into existence, certainly. Now, it certainly helps to have external, let's say, confirmation by others, like sharing this with him. But even if people aren't feeling that, I mean, like,
Neal, you're very lovable. I will confirm.
Thank you, Way.
You know,
likewise, especially the sleeveless look. It's really.
Thank you.
And I also believe that the more Neal has a felt sense of his, what I believe is just an inherent ability to be loved, let's say, the more he starts to believe that, I think he will engage in behaviors with other people in the world that will make him, that will essentially confirm that, because he'll believe it to be true of himself and that potential. And I think he'll be much more likely to fuck around and find out with actual people.
So I'm very curious, Neal. I mean, so would you say like positive affirmation is one of your love languages?
I suppose so. Yeah, I
It is
hadn't
for
thought.
me. It is for me.
Yeah,
Like I've you know, like the whole sort of like couples like, you know, test type of thing. It certainly is for me. It might stem for me from, you know, like I think I've had a constant battle with like, you know, low self-esteem my entire life. And I think that's why like, you know, compliments work so well. And Neal is probably somebody I hear the most compliments from, just like of anybody from our audience, and it's always appreciated, Neal. But is that because you appreciate that yourself?
I suppose so. It's also that I feel sometimes things go unsaid that should be said. Just and I rarely will pick up the phone on a Friday night and do it on the show these days. Often I'm working weird hours, or there's other reasons and so on. But and also I feel much more comfortable, shooting you or John, because we're in touch about the site a lot. A text to say I particularly enjoyed X or Y, because I feel like it's just acknowledgement of that I think a lot of people are feeling, but they're maybe not saying it, and it's good to hear. It shouldn't you shouldn't need to, I guess, be validated by other people, but at the same time, it does no harm.
It's nice to be nice.
Yeah, I've always felt that, though. That's not a particularly new thing. I think this playing, and that's how I'm sort of seeing it with the affirmations thing, is just to see how, I think I talked to you about this, Jordan. It can do no harm, unless you sort of heard your affirmation is to like, do something evil or something like that. Yeah, exactly. And mine aren't, they're all what you might expect, fluffy and nice. But it's an interesting experiment. I'm just trying with it. It's easy to do. It seems to make sense, to sort of almost retrain some of the automatic self-talk that goes on that can be a bit more negative.
When I had long COVID, up until earlier this year, just on the fridge, a big piece of paper, I wrote, "I am healthy, I am strong," knowing I would look at that multiple times a day. And those thoughts, I'd argue, were more helpful than not for me to continuously remind myself of that.
Yeah.
Even if it's just from a placebo effect. Yeah, like what's real? Or how do we make sense of all this? Well, it's the story that we tell ourselves. So why don't we tell ourselves a more helpful story? That's the way I put it.
And I think, Jordan, I mean, there's all sorts of techniques that you've mastered over the years because you teach them, I guess, and the best way to learn is to teach, they say. But even when you were very ill, you always tried. I felt like, big concert coming up you really wanted to go to. I mean, I bet cancelling this thing tonight is going to bother you because it's something you very rarely do. Even if you're not feeling the best, you will. November last year, the 5th anniversary show, the 5th anniversary gathering, you were not well, but you weren't missing that weekend. So, where a lot of people would just say, "I've long COVID, I don't feel great, I'm just gonna, I'll be," So maybe things like those affirmations, a little part at least of that kind of behavior. Who knows? What do you think?
What are you eating, Way?
I'm having almonds. I'm really hungry.
Oh,
Just keep it
just
a bowl of
raw almonds.
raw almonds. Yeah.
Look at you. That's nice.
Salted?
No.
Good.
Honestly, Neal, I
Got
didn't
them at
feel
Costco, like $12.
I didn't feel too bad canceling tonight. I mean, it doesn't feel good. But like I'm just trying to be really kind to myself right now.
Yeah.
I canceled. I mean, you're aware because we talk. I canceled a music festival I was hired to do drum circles for this past weekend, and it would have been my 10th year there. And like it's one of the more high profile gigs that I do publicly every year. And like that felt, I literally cried after texting the festival owner to let him know I had COVID. I couldn't do it. And I mean, it's the most physically demanding workday of my year, because it's drum circles with whoever of the thousands of people want to do it in the hot sun in mid-August. And I just knew doing that I would not get better. So I canceled, and like I cried, because it's more like from a business integrity perspective, like it's not like I have sick days, and like so all of my business is based on relationships with people like that. And I felt really bad. I felt like I let them and the festival down. And I had 7 people that were committed to help me do the work. So I felt like I kind of let my team down. And everyone was understanding that it was what it was, but it felt bad. I felt bad doing it. But right now, tonight, this is a weekly client, and I trust that she gets it. And I'm just trying to feel better so I can go to Boston this weekend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you'll,
though you've hit on something that I've never experienced, which is a way you're in this boat now as well. In fact, you've experienced both. You've been an employee with, I guess, a line manager and an HR department and all of that. That's my entire working life experience. Jordan has basically always been, well, I suppose Ring of Honor, but that's part of the sort of crazy world of pro wrestling. But I'm sure it still has HR departments and managers and a structure.
Oh, it's Sinclair, certainly.
Sinclair, of course.
I spoke with them, but that was an anomaly. Me doing that. I will say, though, I did get breakfast with Joe Koff, the old Ring of Honor COO, recently, and he agreed. Yes, he knew all along I'm better off being my own boss, but he did say that he would hire me, without question.
There you go.
And it was
a recommendation.
Yeah, it was a very lovely, cathartic.
Is he out of pro wrestling entirely?
Yeah.
Cool. Is he doing well?
Yeah. It was great. No, it was because he and I started as friends. I could even say, certainly very friendly. Prior to me working.
Will he be watching All In?
That's an interesting question. Would he pay to order it on pay-per-view and watch it? I don't. My gut says no, but he does pay attention. He still's watching and has a real love, a genuine, and he's someone.
We got a shout out from Cody on Reddit for being one of the people that helped make the first one possible.
Good. I'm glad, because he deserves credit. And I think, Cody being, I don't know if I want to share all this publicly, especially in a wrestling forum. Might be a bit personal, but I will say, I don't think Joe Koff is someone that does get, I don't know if it's credit is the right word, but is just as acknowledged in the pro wrestling community, and or just because of the affiliation with a corporation like Sinclair. Maybe the perception was there wasn't as much of a love for pro wrestling. So I just want to say publicly, Joe Koff, that dude fucking loves and really respects the art of pro wrestling and the culture of it. A genuine fan. He didn't need to get into that business, and neither did Sinclair, but he genuinely loves it. So cool. Yeah, it was nice to chat with him and know that we'll probably do that annually at a minimum from now on.
Really cool.
I don't know how we ended up on.
I don't know either. I forgot.
My point was about being an employee versus working for yourself, which is, you get. If I don't feel well, I don't hesitate to just tell work I'm not well.
You have sick days.
Yeah, I've got sick days. And certainly I've noticed, if I can think of episodes of Rewind to Raw, Rewind Away, whatever, where you're chatting at the beginning and John might say, I'm sick, Max is sick, Evie's sick. We're all sick. We're in a house of, of disease at the moment, and John's very upfront, it's just I'm not feeling well.
Yeah.
But still got to do it. That's sort of that the show must go on sort of thing. So
Yeah,
I think
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who work like for themselves are in a very similar boat where you just, I mean, I don't know about you, Neil, but like if you call in a sick day, I'm assuming there's somebody who might be able to like do at least temporarily what you're doing for the
most
day.
of the time, yeah, that's the only time guilt comes into it is if there's a lot of work and it's having to be shoved onto someone else, and then I start to feel bad about that. But usually it can be absorbed in a big organization like the one I work for fairly easily.
Yeah, I guess the nature of this job is, it's kind of difficult, especially like when we are essentially the product, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we should probably try to implement more like actual sick days, like on paper, or at least just like forced vacation for all of us. But it's it's, I mean, everything is just about planning and having the time to plan and resources and who's available and just all this other stuff that like we don't even really have that much energy to like sit down and actively do, right? So
But also, even if you didn't just, I mean, no, sometimes I feel like maybe Christmas time you guys have like taken the week off, something like that.
We did that once. Yeah.
Okay.
Unprofessional.
How dare you? And we still pay you monthly. I would imagine, because it's my experience, and I'm still like happy to be a patron and to support you guys, even though I'm sure I don't have to. But
yeah,
like for you guys to say, hey, I'm not feeling well, we're not going to do this, or hey, it's been like we're going to take a vacation. And knowing that you guys are mostly funded by Patreon subscribers, those are the people that really matter. I'd imagine most of those people would be like, good for them, happy for them.
I think most would, at least from the people that we hear from. I do feel like there's a limit to it, and I mean, so much of our business, I think, I mean, we have, I think, more like dedicated, like longtime listeners than most who would. But we also rely on people who are just strictly here, on a casual basis, like people who aren't even necessarily listening to a show like this, but just want wrestling content. And that we want those people. We want to attract those people too. It's something we have to be mindful of. But more importantly, I think we have a dedication to like just being really like comprehensive and to deliver like a comprehensive like catalog of like, hey, show review for every single thing. And yeah, at some point we probably should like not, maybe do that at the expense of like other areas of our life. And we aren't, like, I think it's manageable now. But yeah, like we want to, at least if, we aren't the ones doing it, at least have somebody else provide it. It's kind of the nature of like what we've chosen to cover, right? Like if wrestling took time off, I think we'd be very happy about that, but wrestling does not take time off. In fact, it seems to double in size every few years.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought I was covering the site for a bit last weekend, and I thought this is a nice, simple weekend, and it kind of was, but I'd forgotten about Multiverse 2. Now, Sino really did the lion's share of the work on that, he's brilliant at those.
He's so great.
Show reports.
He can go to a show live and then come back and just like give you something in, I don't know, like an hour, it feels like. So yeah, he's amazing.
But I mean, it was, I put it this way, it was a weekend without either of the major two companies having any pay-per-view or PLE, and there was still plenty happening, so
yeah,
the wrestling never ends.
And I feel like I say it all the time, but like Neal is a legitimately great writer / like reporter for like the type of work that we do. As somebody who has a great sense of like knowing what to aggregate, knowing what details to pull out of like a press release and to basically filter it so that somebody even like me can just simply understand it. You have a great sense for all that. So
yeah, but there's negative talk there. Way someone like me, come on, you're an absolute expert in this area. But I really do appreciate that. And actually, it's one area where I'm quite happy to sort of own the compliment, because it's been, I trained in journalism. I learned in the old fashioned way. I learned how to do shorthand, and newspaper law was, like a special module I had to do and stuff like that. So
you were
I do take it seriously.
The letterpress days. You were saying?
Yeah, back in the 20s, yeah, we
He's got like
it's
one of those
hot metal.
hats, like with the brim, no pad.
I do have a little press card because I'm still a member of the NUJ, the National Union of Journalists, who'd give you a little card with the word press in the corner, so I could get a nice trilby, stick that in the brim, and maybe try that at All In this weekend, see if we can get backstage or something.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yes. So what are we talking about next month?
I think we've said it all this month.
All right. Is this it? The end?
No,
31's a nice round number, Neal.
don't do that. I feel like I've only started.
31.
I
Or as
do
Hansi would
think
say 30.
these open lines more often feel like a good idea. I'd love there to be some feedback from the audience on that to see what they think. You know, we've traditionally done it just at Christmas time, once a year. So.
Here we go. Steve Grosweed says, the Neal goodbye is awesome. Dicky Bird says, these guys know they're still on the air, right?
Okay.
Hackman, I believe this is Chris. He says, oh my God, just caught up to live, dropped to 1x speed, and they all sound drunk.
Okay.
Maybe we are. Okay.
Drunk on love.
That's it.
Or something.
We are approaching the 2-hour mark, and I think this is where we legitimately have to say Canadian goodbye, Torontonian goodbye, and that is